In 1869, a 35-year-old professor of geology named John Wesley Powell attempted something thought to be impossible. Experts called it a death wish. There was a blank spot on the map of America that was as mysterious as the Bermuda Triangle and as big as any state in the Union. Map makers wrote "unexplored" on that part of the map to fill in the blank. We know it today as the Grand Canyon. John Wesley Powell became the first person to successfully cross the canyon by negotiating and navigating 500 rapids over a 1,000-mile stretch of the Colorado River. The amazing thing is that neither Powell nor any of his 9-man crew had ever run a single rapid. One other noteworthy fact, Powell lost his right arm in the Civil War. So the man leading the fleet of flatbed boats down the Colorado could not row, could not bail, and could not swim. Navigating the Colorado River is so difficult, so dangerous, that up until World War II, only 250 people had done it. Based on today's rules and regulations, Powell wouldn't even qualify for a permit. But John Wesley Powell wasn't a man to let limitations get in the way of his goal. It was Powell's epic adventure that inspired the rite of passage for my son, Josiah. We spent 5 days rafting the Colorado River from Harper's Ferry to Phantom Ranch in the Grand Canyon. The July temperatures averaged 108 degrees, but the river was a bone-chilling 48 degrees. We ran rapids, we slept under the stars, and then we hiked out of the Grand Canyon itself. All of those experiences were epic, but the hands-down highlight was a Class 7 rapid called Sockdolager. If you look up Sockdolager in the dictionary, it means knockout blow, and that's exactly what it felt like, a 48-degree punch in the face. As we approached that rapid, our adrenaline was pumping. We white-knuckled the handles of that raft and prepared for impact. As we broke through the rapid, Josiah yelled at the top of his mid-puberty voice, "We are men! We are men!" That will forever rank as one of the greatest moments of my life. It was the culmination of a year-long process of discipling my son from boyhood to manhood. It started with a discipleship covenant, which I shared in the last session. It ended with a rite of passage. My goal was to draw a line of demarcation between boyhood and manhood. With Josiah, it was mission accomplished at mile marker 79.1 on the Colorado River. What was it that gave Josiah such a sense of manliness in that moment? Well, I think part of it was the fact that he faced his fears and fought through them. I think part of it was doing something dangerous, something difficult. But I think the key to a rite of passage is pushing past our perceived limits. It's doing something we're not sure we can do. I'm more and more convinced that men need a challenge. It's the way we come alive. It's the way we discover who we really are. Without a challenge, manliness atrophies. Without a challenge, we never know if we're man enough. That's why I included a physical, mental, and spiritual challenge in the discipleship covenant. And I think the rite of passage should involve a challenge. Throughout history, different cultures have initiated its men in different ways. In Jewish culture, it's called bar mitzvah. At 13 years of age, a boy was given the rights and responsibilities of a man. The right to read from the Torah publicly, the right to own property, and the right to get married. In Native American culture, the rite of passage often involves a vision quest or maybe a sweat lodge. The Mandan brave goes without food or water or sleep for 4 days to complete his initiation into manhood. For a Maasai warrior, it was killing a lion. And on Pentecost Island, members of the Naghal tribe climb a 90-foot tower, then take a leap of faith with 2 vines attached around their ankles. Now please hear this. I'm not advocating a rite of passage that is life-threatening in any way, but a man needs a test and needs a trial. I'd recommend a well-planned, well-controlled element of danger, element of adventure. That's how we prove our manhood. That's what I tried to do with both of my sons and my daughter. With Parker, our passage was a 23.2-mile rim-to-rim hike across the Grand Canyon. It entailed a 1-mile drop in elevation down the North Kaibab Trail and a 1-mile ascent up the Bright Angel Trail. But the toughest thing is that we did it when temperatures hit 110 degrees in the shade. I lost 13 pounds in 2 days. You can't stay hydrated in those kind of temperatures, and we ran out of water about 4 miles before our destination. I kept asking Parker on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing? When Parker answered -1, I thought we might have to be helicoptered out of the canyon. I got scared for him and for me. If I didn't get Parker out of the canyon alive, I knew I might not have a wife to go back to. When we finally reached the south rim of the canyon, I've never been more exhausted or more alive. A boy entered the canyon, but a young man emerged. That's the rite of passage. I would challenge you to challenge your son. Let him prove to himself what he's capable of doing. Make it special, make it memorable, and tailor it to who he is. That's the first half of the equation, the rite of passage trip. Now let me take a few minutes and talk about the rite of passage ceremony. When your son completes the 3 challenges, celebrate it. My recommendation would be to use their birthday as a leverage point. Before Parker's 13th birthday, I spent several weeks planning his rite of passage ceremony. I staged the event right here at Roosevelt Island in D.C. It's a 90-acre island in the middle of the Potomac River across from Georgetown. We did quite a bit of hiking when they were kids growing up, so it was symbolic of his youth. I also knew it was a place we could come back to over the years, a touchstone in his journey from boyhood to manhood. So on the day of his ceremony, I told him we were going kayaking. What I didn't tell him is that we would land on Roosevelt Island, where I had his uncles staged at different points on the trail. Each uncle gave Parker a letter with lessons learned during their teen years, a symbolic gift, and as they walked the trail, each of them gave him a manhood speech. Then we all reconvened at the statue of Teddy Roosevelt at the center of the island. What I had failed to notice in all our trips to Roosevelt Island was the large granite stones that stood behind Roosevelt. One is called youth. The other is called manhood, the perfect place to make a man. And if you want to make a pilgrimage to D.C. for your rite of passage trip or ceremony, can't think of a better place to mark that moment. I let my sons have a few moments to meditate in front of the youth stone. Without him knowing it, clicked a few pictures to capture the moment. Then they crossed the threshold and spent a few minutes in the shadow of the manhood stone. Then we all formed a circle around my sons, laid hands on them, and prayed for them. In the realm of anthropology, there's a word that refers to a threshold moment in a person's life. It's the word liminality. It's often a ritual that changes someone's status, like a wedding. You're single one second, and the next second you're married till death do you part. Or baptism. With one plunge, you're dead to self and alive in Christ. It's a new normal, a new chapter, a new creation. We need liminal moments. That's what the rite of passage ceremony is. Then we do one last thing, and it's not insignificant. We top it off by taking the newly initiated man to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. He orders his first man-sized steak, and that first bite of steak is one more liminal moment. Now let me say this. Your rite of passage trip, your rite of passage ceremony will be as unique as your son. It'll look very different than mine. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The most important thing is that your son walks away from it knowing that you love him, that you believe in him, and that you're proud of him. That's the blessing, not the ceremony itself. As we come to the end of this study, I want you to know that I'm praying for you. I'm praying that you would play the man, that you would grow in the 7 virtues of manhood. And I'm praying for fathers that God would give you the patience, the wisdom, the perseverance to make a man out of your son. Let me close with this. The year was 1555. The place was Oxford, England. Hugh Latimer, Nicholas Ridley, and Thomas Cranmer, the Archbishop of Canterbury, were sentenced to die. Why? Because like Polycarp, 12 centuries before them, they would not recant of their convictions. Hugh Latimer was a prince of preachers, the university preacher at Cambridge University, and he also served as personal chaplain to King Edward VI. But when Queen Mary took the throne, his pulpit was taken from him. Now Latimer could have escaped, but instead he stayed and played the man to the bitter end. On October 16, 1555, the 3 bishops were led outside the city gate and fastened to the stake. When the first log was lit beneath Ridley's feet, Latimer preached his last, his best, his shortest sermon. He spoke the same words that Polycarp had heard from heaven 12 centuries earlier. Be of good comfort, Master Ridley, and play the man. We shall this day light such a candle by God's grace in England as I trust shall never be put out. When you play the man and you make the man, you light a candle for the next generation, a candle that will not be put out. May God help us. May God bless us to the 3rd and 4th generation. In the words of King David, let us play the men for our people. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Play the man, make the man.